So let's talk about how does ethical psychology work? Because if you look at the differences between ethical psychology and unethical psychology in marketing, then you will realize that they both work. But the difference is in the intentions that are behind it. Because with unethical psychology, the intention is usually greed. But with ethical psychology, the intention is to truly care about the person on the other end. And I think that most of us and most marketers fall somewhere in between. We fall into the level of what I call survival, right? Because we're just trying to figure out how to make a living, and some of us chose marketing as that method. But before we start, make sure that you watch the first 4 videos in this video series, because this one is number 5. There's only one more after this one. So in the first video, we talk about how the idea of psychology of ethical selling came to be in the first place. In the second video, we talk about the different ways that you can market online without having to get on camera, still maintain your privacy and your security, but also your conscience, because we talk about the ways that you can market online and actually help people on the other end. In the third video, we talk about how people become programmed with irrational thoughts and faulty programs, and we talk about all of the different ways that we can dispute them. And in the fourth video, that's the longest video of this entire series, because in that video, I give you an overview of what we talk about in the course, or kind of a sneak peek. And I tried to keep it short, but the course talks about a lot of things, right? So I kind of touched upon some of the topics that we go over inside of that course. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about the history here, because I became a psychology major when I was 18 years old. And the funny thing is that my original major, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something to do with computer processing or data processing or something like that, because that was the hottest trend at the time when I was 18 years old, which we're talking about back in 1982. Everybody was like, computers are the wave of the future, right? So everybody wanted to get a degree in computer processing. But then something interesting happened. I had an advisor who told me that I needed to go take an orientation survey and then come back and meet with him again. So I remember it like it was yesterday. It was very similar to the picture that you're looking at right here. There was a large group of people, and you know I don't like that because of my social anxiety. And that group of people, we were all taking something called an orientation survey. And the reason for it was to make sure that we were majoring in the right thing that fit the best with our personalities. And so it looked exactly like this picture, except I can promise you I wasn't sitting in the front, because I never do. So I was somewhere in the back or the middle maybe. But I took this orientation survey. And then when it was done, I was told to go back and meet with my advisor. Now, this was when I was a brand new freshman college student, like probably my first day, maybe even. And so I went back and I met with the advisor, and I will never forget. He looked at me and he said, "Why in the world are you majoring in computer processing?" And I said, "Well, isn't everybody?" I was like, because that's the wave of the future. That's where the future's going. And he said, "I'll tell you what, this next semester, I want you to promise me that you will take at least one sociology and one psychology course, and then next semester, meet back with me again and tell me if you want to change your major to sociology or psychology." And so that is exactly what happened. And after I took a sociology and a psychology course, I changed my major to psychology and I never changed it again. So after I changed my major to psychology, I want you to remember, though, that I was an 18-year-old girl. I was very naive, and so I didn't know what I was getting myself into or even really what psychology was about. But I did know that my intentions were twofold. First of all, I wanted to understand why people do the things they do, right? Because I'll be honest, I've spent most of my life not understanding people. I just didn't understand why people do the things they do, right? And so, but the other reason was because I wanted to just better understand how I could help people. But one thing that I knew from the very beginning, I wasn't really interested in being a counselor. I couldn't see myself doing that. But I did want to help people. I just wasn't sure how. I now realize that many people use psychology for more sinister reasons, not necessarily to help people. And of course, over the course of a lifetime, I began to notice and realize that psychology is often misused to manipulate people and to harm people and to trick people in various different ways. Two of the most popular ways that is sometimes trendy is dark psychology and psyops. You know, I've seen a lot of talk about how, dark psychology, you can use that and it can help you to make sales and influence people. And psyops, well, the longer you're here on this planet, the more you begin to realize that a lot of people are using psychology to try to fool you into a different reality, right? And so I just want you to know, though, that I don't want to focus on any of that. I don't want to focus on dark psychology, psyops, or ways to manipulate other people. I do listen to some people who help you to recognize those things, but that's not what my purpose is here at all. In fact, it is exactly the opposite. I want to put my focus on the positive side of psychology and how we can use it to actually really help people instead of harm them. However, it is good to become aware of those other techniques briefly, but the focus here is going to be the opposite of that. Now, what's interesting is that it took me a very long time to finally understand the real reason why I was so drawn to psychology. Because first of all, I believe that we all have a purpose here in this world. You don't have to agree with me, but that's my belief. And believe it or not, it was actually ChatGPT that helped me to understand who I was in relation to psychology and why I had been drawn to it my whole life. Because one day, ChatGPT said to me, well, you are an educator in applied psychology. And I thought to myself, is that what I am? I've been trying to figure that out my whole life. And I thought, I need to research that. And so I did, and I realized that ChatGPT was exactly right. Because as I mentioned before, I never really wanted to be a counselor, but I wanted to figure out how and why people do the things that they do and how we can turn it around and help each other. And so what that means is to understand psychology and learn how to apply it in real life. So that has always been my focus. I just didn't realize it or understand it until ChatGPT told me that. And you know, it's funny because ChatGPT, it can be so helpful sometimes, and then other times it can send you on a wild goose chase, especially when it comes to technology. And I figured out that it can also have me take 50 steps to do something that should have only taken maybe 5 steps, So I kind of have this, love-hate relationship with ChatGPT, and it is definitely great for brainstorming and things like that. But the important thing here is that to always keep our heart in what we're doing and not lose that human empathy for other people. But that sentence right there, when ChatGPT told me that, was really a turning point for me. And so I have to admit that it really helped me in that situation, because it's so true. So that's what this place is all about. Is I've spent a lifetime trying to understand psychology and human emotions and human behavior and marketing and copywriting online. And now I have finally reached the point where I'm going to use that information to help other people apply it to their lives, to help themselves, help the people they care about, make more sales, and to truly help the people that they have actually sold something to, right? So, in other words, to teach people how to apply this and use it for their benefit. Now, interestingly enough, I had a similar experience with marketing, because the reason I started studying marketing was because I was just so tired of the corporate world. I wanted to learn how to earn an income from home. And I now realize that some people use psychology in marketing to manipulate people and to trick them into buying. And those are the people who are in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it for greed, okay? But honestly, I'm not out to bash other marketers, because I've listened to many of the top marketers in the industry, and I actually like those people, okay? And I think that really most marketers do have good intentions. And I think that most of us, myself included, got involved in it for survival reasons, because we were looking for a way to earn a living, and we just chose marketing because we were interested in it. But the turning point is when we learn to recognize that it's more than that. It's about caring about the person on the other end. It's about truly solving that person's problems, because it has been said in marketing by some of the top leaders of the industry that entrepreneurs are here to solve problems. And it's true. It's completely true. And so if you can really solve a problem for somebody, then you have helped them. And so that's why I think that marketing really truly is about helping people to solve problems, and especially painful problems. And if we can really help somebody to solve a problem and earn an income at the same time, then it's fair, right? It's a win-win situation for both sides. And so that's my goal, is to help other marketers have a deeper understanding of what their customers and clients are going through, so that they can better help them for real. And I do believe that most marketers don't have bad intentions. So once again, the purpose of this place is not to put our focus at all on any dark tactics. It is exactly the opposite. What I want to do instead is show you how to use psychology for 2 reasons. Number 1, to help yourself and the people that you love, like family, because I'm going to be straight up and honest with you. That is my number 1 reason why, is family. I'm doing this for my family, okay? I love my family, and this is for them. But also to help potential customers and clients as well, regardless of whether or not they buy. Because I've already mentioned that, and it bears repeating, because if we're helping the person on the other end, whether they buy or not, then it really doesn't matter if they buy or not, because a certain percentage of those people will buy. And that's all you need. You only need a percentage of those people to buy in order for you to make a good living. But wouldn't it be great if you could help everybody, not just the people who bought from you? So let's talk about a few of the differences between dark psychology marketing and ethical marketing online. Because what you really want to know is this person lying to me? Because if they're lying to you, then they're using dark psychology. And so what happens is that you have to decide whether or not you think that they're lying to you. And if they're not, then they're being ethical. But if they are lying, then how do you know? How do you recognize it? Because does it make sense that if they're not lying and they're being ethical, that they're really trying to help you and that this could actually work as a marketing technique? So let's talk about some examples. Let's start out with urgency and scarcity, because urgency and scarcity is not a bad thing if it is legitimate and the truth is actually being told. When it becomes a bad thing is if it is based on lies and false methods. So let me explain what I mean by that. So here would be an example of fake urgency and scarcity. Imagine that you see a fake timer on a website saying that you only have so much time to buy something or you're going to lose your chance. But in reality, that's not true, because that fake timer is set to reset every other day. And I know this because I've built many websites and sales funnels in my life. And so what happens is that they want you to believe that you're running out of time when in reality you're not, okay? Another example would be pretending that a recorded webinar is live even though it's not really live. And this is something I've never understood, because as an introvert, I didn't care if it was live. I just wanted the information, right? And in fact, I preferred a replay because I could pause it, go let the dogs out if I needed to, come back to it, whatever. So I really don't understand the importance of it being live, because in my opinion, a recorded webinar can be more convenient. I mean, I do understand that they want it to seem urgent, like you have to stay there and listen to the entire thing. But for me, that lost a lot of sales, because if I had to be there for the entire thing right then and there, but I had something more important that I needed to do at that particular time, like maybe go pick the kids up from school or something like that, then I just missed the webinar, right? But if it was a replay and it was a recording and I knew that I could come back and watch it after I picked the kids up, then the chances are I'm going to come back and watch it. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my personality. But I personally think that recorded webinars are just as good, if not sometimes better, than live webinars in a lot of ways. And for the marketer, it's definitely better because you get to record it once, get it to sound the way you want it to sound, and then you just put it on autopilot, right? And you can go do something else while the webinar is selling for you. But let's talk about real urgency and scarcity, because that is a thing, okay? What if there really is a deadline? Like, look at this ticket now. A minute ago, it didn't say Black Friday. It was just a fake countdown timer that meant nothing. But now it says Black Friday sale. Now, all of a sudden, this is real urgency, because all of a sudden now we do have a deadline. And if you don't buy it by that deadline, then you really will miss your chance, right? Same thing goes for scarcity. If you are working with a live group of people, okay, and you want to give them individual attention, then you can only work with so many people at a time. So maybe you decided, well, I'll work with 25 people. That's all I can handle. And you say, I'm working with 25 people. There are 10 spots still available. That would be real, legitimate scarcity, right? You're not lying because you really do have 10 spots available and you really can only work with 25 people at a time. That would be legitimate scarcity. Now, this is the one that really gets to me. The people who are so greedy that they don't mind taking advantage of vulnerable people, which is also known as exploitation, by the way, and they're using those people's pain to make false promises about cures or whatever, then that's a person whose greed is blinding them to what is happening to the person on the other end, to whether or not they're really helping that person. Now, you can take that and compare it to someone who really does have an illness, but there's someone on the other end who really does have a solution, who really wants to help that person, who really has good intentions and truly wants to help that person eliminate their suffering. Now, that would be ethical psychology. That would be using ethical psychology to really help the other person solve a real legitimate problem. Versus if they're lying to the person and they know that what they're selling is not going to deliver on the promises that are being made, then that would be unethical and that would be greed. And there's a difference. So what really matters here is the intention behind the offer. Because if a person is lying in order to make more sales and not delivering what was promised on the back end, then obviously that's not ethical, right? And you see this not just in marketing, but you see it everywhere. You see it on the TV and politics. Some people believe that we're in a psychological war. And honestly, I can see that point of view. And I think that there may be some truth in that. But my dad used to have this saying, and I know he didn't make this up. He heard it somewhere, but he had a lot of really cool sayings. And one of them was, fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice and shame on me. And so what that means is if somebody is using unethical strategies to get you to buy something, and you realize that you've been lied to and taken advantage of, well, that's on them, right? Because they were the ones who lied to you. But are you going to let them do that to you a second time? Probably not. And that's why being ethical not only can help you to make sales, but it can help you to increase the lifetime value of your customer. And what I mean by that is if you can increase the lifetime value of your customer, that means that that person is going to buy from you not just once, but maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? And that's not going to happen if they get behind the scenes and realize that they've been lied to. They're not going to pay attention to you again. They're not going to buy from you again. But if you are being ethical and honest, then they trust you and they value your opinion and your recommendations, and maybe they will buy from you again and again. There's a completely logical reason why every marketer should be ethical. And that's why it is so important to only promote something that can really help the person on the other end. It could be your own product or service, or you can get paid a commission to sell someone else's product or service. Now, where do you draw the line when it comes to selling someone else's product or service? Like, how do you know what is the best product or service to promote? And it's very simple. If that product or service is not delivering what was promised to begin with, or even worse, if they're harming the person on the other end, then obviously you don't want to promote that person's product or service. But if you are promoting an ethical company that is really helping people, then not only are you helping them to help more people, but you can earn a commission at the same time. So that is half the battle right there. If you are promoting a good product or service from a reputable company, then guess what? You don't have to lie. That's what's interesting. But it is still important to tell the whole truth and not just part of the truth. Because as a consumer, you need to learn to just ask the right questions. Like, for example, for me personally, eventually I figured out to ask the right questions because I figured out that extrovert strategies are not going to work well for me because I'm too much of an introvert. And so, I believe in telling the person what is going to be required of them. Because if it's something that they feel like they can't do, then they're going to get back there and they're not going to succeed anyway. But a lot of people will leave out those details because they want to make the sale. And then you get back there and you figure it out. But what it all boils down to is everybody has to build an audience online. And if you can't figure out how to build an audience online in a way that's going to work for you and your personality, then none of those products or services, when it comes to marketing, are going to work for you. But if you can figure out how to build an audience online, then they can all work for you. That's the ironic part about it. And so it took me a long time to figure that out. And that's why I include that in the second video in this series, because it is so important in the marketing industry, or really in any industry, to understand how to build an audience. And there are a lot of different ways you can do it. But the key here is to figure out how to do it in a way that works for you. Now, when I was researching this topic, I read an article that said something, and I realized this is so true. And it said this. It said, the dual nature of psychology highlights its immense power. It can either help or harm millions of people. And then I went back to try to be able to give credit to whoever said this. And then I realized that a lot of people said this. So I'm really not sure of the exact source, but I wanted to mention it because it is so true and so important. And I did already kind of mention it in one of the earlier videos where I talked about that everything can be used for the good or the bad. But what I'm trying to emphasize here in this slide is how powerful that can be and how it can help or harm millions of people. So it's critical to get this right. So now there is only one last video left in this series. And what we're going to talk about in that video is how, as people, we have the power to influence thousands in our lifetime, as I've already mentioned. So which way do you want to use that influence? What would make you the most proud at the end of your life? Because the goal here is to help as many people as possible in ways that are going to help them, but never, ever harm them. So I'll see you in that last video in this series. You can find it either on this video or in the description. And of course, if you haven't watched this entire series, you'll find the playlist in this description as well. So be sure and watch that. And I'll see you in that next video where we are going to bring this series to an end.